We hear some grunting noises and a person saying, to get a grip and not faint, they are just getting started. And so they inserts the simulant once more, leaving blood to gush out. He lasted a good amount with a new potion. They find the results to be quite impressive, believing that a talented experiment subject like him is really on a different level. Right now, we are in Bohemian Magic Tower, and a bunch of people are surrounding our MC, who is chained up, planning to insert another simulant. In this magic tower, known as the strongest in the Empire, our boy is dying slowly. He don't know why someone like him, who is said to possess a gifted mind, ended up like this, as he is once again forcefully injected with the simulant. He tries to break the chains, but is unable to, so he begs them to stop. The Magic Tower Master finds him noisy and annoying. He starts to leave, telling his subordinate to inform once the experiment is done. Meanwhile, our boy wonders, why is he dying in a place he dreamed to be in? One of them grabs him by the hair, asking, how is he feeling? Even though he had zero talent as a mage, he acted up because people praised him a little for being smart, which is also why his life force and knowledge is now being extracted in the secret research lab. He tries to provoke Verdan to try and be a smartass like he usually acts, but he notes that he cannot even faint in his current state, as we see the vision in his eyes getting blurry. He asks, where is he looking at, and upon glancing, he notices something. One of the ants are on the loose, causing him to lash out at others for not taking care of it properly, and they apologize to Weller. But he angrily calls them idiot and crushes the ant. From this, they also call Verdan an insect for having no magic power to even break a single chain, so there is no reaction at all, which Weller finds a good thing since they have a rank S experimental subject due to it. His friend, who entered the tower with him, went to study abroad. Rovelin his name is, who Weller pities on for having a friend like Verdan. While questioning the reason that he is dying here slowly, he arrives at a conclusion on why is everything happening this way. He tries to say something, causing them to ask, what is he mumbling about? And Verdan shouts at them to shut the hell up, feeling frustrated that all of this is happening because he is weak. This all started 15 years ago. He grew up in an orphanage and wished to become a mage, so he entered the magic tower as a normal worker to learn magic. But he couldn't become one, no matter how hard he tried, due to growth limit. It was a compatibility test he took when he was 7. It meant that he cannot become a mage. It was death for him, whose long-term wish was to become a mage. But he didn't give up. He secretly peeked at the spell books left in the rooms while he worked as a menial laborer in the tower. He also learned of crux of numerous books that are found in the Magic Tower's library. Even though he didn't have a lot of magic power, he was confident when it came to intelligence. A few years passed by, and he finally became a researcher in the tower and was praised as a genius. One of the professor was absolutely shocked seeing his thesis, something that even Balrog, the tower master, would acknowledge. He realized that his intelligence was not just talent, but it was in the realm of genius, as he tells the professor that he needed to prove the thesis before submitting it. So he asks Verdan if he is the first person he showed this to, and Verdan confirms that he is indeed the only one he shared it with. Lukid was the only researcher he was close to, and he finally acknowledged him. It made him think that he would be able to remain at the tower not as a laborer, but as a scholar of magic, until he presented his thesis under his own name. It was too late when he found out, so he rushed to the tower master. He explained how the thesis was originally his and disappeared a day before he was going to submit it. Balrog confirms if he is truly the author of multidimensional continuity theory, and Verdan hoped that as a tower master, Balrog won't surely let it slide. Verdan even offers to explain the theory to prove, but Balrog simply calls it surprising, saying that he had no idea there was such a talent among the regular researchers, which made him invite Verdan to his lab in 2 days, remembering which made Verdan wonder if he would have been living a normal life if he didn't went to the tower master that day. Back to the present, he is once again thrown into his cell, with Weller warning that he is going to crank up the intensity of the test even more. He was basically a worker at day and a test subject by night. He was told to create magic circle and validate his theory, to inject drugs into his veins, to invent new potion and prove its effects, and to devote his life to the tower. Even if he tried telling anyone, no one would believe him, and he was threatened that Tower Master will kill the people he care about. He starts to think that everything is over, and he cannot do anything now. He gets a flashback of playing with his friend, Rovelin. They made a promise to become great mages together. It makes him start to wonder if his potential was just a little higher. Would things have turned out differently for him? He tells himself to admit it while crying, that everything is over for him. We see tons of ants starting to gather in front of him. He hears a familiar sound, something he hears always when he is getting experimented on. Suddenly, the dead ant seems to be speaking, asking Verdan, but that's not how he truly feels, isn't it? With the rest of the ants telling him that it's not over yet. For the sake of revenge and survival, he has to hold on and endure it again and again. And then he will be reborn, so he will never be trampled again. He would wield great power. And he will surpass his limits. So, Verdan clenches his fist, starting to believe as well that it's not over yet. He has to hone the blade of revenge that he has been honing for the past 7 years with everything he got until it's complete. And if he could solve just one last problem that he cannot crack. In the face of greater power, just having smarter mind than other is not enough. And if that's the case, he decides to defy fate itself, redefine the theoretical framework, and complete a method of reconstructing the body like never seen before. It's going to be a theory of defying heavens. Tomorrow, he plans to break through his limits. The long theory, defying heavens, which will allow him to reconstruct his body. It is finally completed only after he accepted his death. And now all that is left is to prove it, and he would need that artifact, which would allow him to cast magic just once. And even if his body shatters in the process, he plans to take back his freedom tomorrow. The night passed, and soon the day he will put his plan in motion dawned. Weller unlocks his cell and orders him to come to the lab and clean up the blood stains and patch up the cuts. But when Verdan doesn't answer, he shouts at him, so he answers in a depressing tone. Now while cleaning the lab, someone comes around asking if he is cleaning up alone, and it turns out to be her friend, Rovelin. He asks her reason for coming here, and she replies that she is here to say goodbye to her friend before leaving. He smiles and replies that she was going to study abroad in Magic City, Verdan, a special privilege only given to the exceptional talents. And he also congrats her on that, but she doesn't seem much happy. She forwards her hand that her offer still stands. She wants him to come to Verdan with her. Since unlike here, where he has to deal with arrogant fools, he might find new opportunities there in the Mage City. And before she says anything further, she blushes, telling him to not get the wrong idea. She just wanted someone to talk to, that's all. But he declines her offer, saying that he would be staying here. So, she simply leaves saying that she would write him letters. We see him looking at her go through a bar, saying that she don't know anything. She don't know what is happening here. And what is he getting subjected to, as he gets ordered to follow them by someone? But he is still grateful for one thing, that she won't get caught up in his plans. The Magic Festival, it's a global holiday which commemorates the construction of the first tower and the revival of magic. It's the busiest day for the tower. Once it begins, all the high-ranking mages leave for the major cities, leaving only low-ranked mages behind. He knocks on a door and is allowed in. The guy asks, what is he doing here at this hour? And he replies that the tower master asked him to clean the treasure vaults. The guy scolds him for not asking for permission in advance for it, but he still lets him in, warning to not touch anything. Coming inside, the first thing he does is touch an artifact. What it does is blocks out the sound from the inside. And now, he begins going down through a magical stairway, and soon arrives at a place where we see an artifact floating in the air. It's called Second Circuit. It's an artificial artifact that the Tower Master used an astronomical amount of money to create. It allows a mage to perform triple casting and temporarily awakens the latent talents of its wielder. And in order to get it, he needs to disable the protective magic circle. It's a 7th tier spell, personally created by the Tower Master himself. But he has spent last 7 years studying on how to break it. And the magic circle that the Tower Master is so proud of, he plans to break it today. We now switch scenes to 2 guard, who are unhappy with the fact that they got a guarding duty to watch the power source while everyone else is enjoying festival. One of them thinks that he would have been chosen if it was based on skills. Suddenly, they notice Verdan coming in and orders him to get them more booze. But he simply turns back and they continue their banter, with the guy saying that he would become magic master and won't drink cheap drinks anymore, and the other one saying that it's not easy to attain, and promises the drinks to be on him if it happens while Verdan takes out the staff. The guy makes it a promise with him, assuring that he would become the Tower Master, only to get shot in the head by Verdan. His friend looks towards Verdan in shock, and questions, "What is he doing?" Finding him insane, and Verdan comments that it's a reaction that he didn't expect at all. He takes out his weapon as well, planning to fix Verdan's foolish brain for trying to take him on, and uses a rank 3 magic, tidal wave on him. But Verdan also uses a rank 3 magic, Earth Spear, which pierces through the water wave that he created. The guy is left shocked, and we see the attack has lodged into his body. As he questions Verdan, how can he use magic? Verdan asks if he is shocked that a mere test subject can cast magic, because it is what happens when they toy with people. He now goes to the power source, noting that it's his first time seeing it from up close. It's the Magic Tower's power source, a purple beating heart, and it took him 7 years to get to this point. And now, he is going to use the power to initiate divine heavens. But if he fails, he don't know what would happen to him. But he won't know if he don't try. And so, he slams the staff on the ground, activating a magic circle, and starts chanting, "Body reform, defying heavens." The power source lights up, and we see the whole tower being encompassed in huge amount of mana. It can be even seen from afar, as someone from the carriage notices that it's energy from the power source of the tower. And it's the tower master, who realizes that someone has trespassed into his magic tower. We see the part of the tower is destroyed. But Verdan seems still alive as he starts to come out from the rubble. He notes that it was destructive enough to wipe out the entire area, yet he is still alive, which means that his magic was a success. Suddenly, he sees a bright light in the sky and notices that someone is coming for him. And upon looking closely, it turns out to be the Magic Tower Master. He realizes that he must have sensed something happened to his men. Balrog quickly attacks Verdan and causes an explosion. But as the smoke clears up, he is left surprised. As we see, there is a teleportation circle on the place where Verdan was. He gets quite pissed at him for laying a hand on the magic tower. He don't care now, whoever it might be, even if it's an emperor or a child, he will kill them as soon as he finds them. We now switch scenes to a peaceful place, lush green forest and bright blue sky. Verdan feels really sleepy, unable to move an inch. He suddenly hears sound of water, and upon waking up, he is left quite shocked. He wonders where is he, as he was supposed to be running away. And upon noting his changed appearance in the river, he wonders just what the hell happened. His brown hair turned into ash color, and his black pupils are now blue in color. He finds himself becoming a complete different person, making him wonder if something happened when his body was being reconstructed. He remembers that after he came across people from the tower, he succeeded with defying heavens, and before the tower master could find him, he quickly escaped through teleportation magic. And he ended up here, looking around. He doesn't recognize as the forest, nor did he ever see such plants in Bohemran Magic Tower either, which makes him realize that he has successfully escaped across half the continent. He was able to successfully execute his magic, and escape as well, and so, he is finally free. He laughs thinking about how furious the tower master must be, and since the tower was destroyed, they have no way to find out that he has escaped. But he knows that this isn't enough to take the tower down. Even though they must have lost quite a bit of manpower, Balrog didn't receive his nickname, the Omnipotent One, for nothing. But for now, this is enough. While the tower is being rebuilt, he plans to grow stronger for his revenge. He plans to destroy everything that he has built right before his eyes, and by doing so, his name will be etched in history. Taking revenge and proving himself as a mage, he makes these two his life's purpose, though it's a goodbye to the tower for a while. We now see a goblin and Verdan, who is using Wind Cutter spell on him, and he is easily able to one-shot it. He doesn't feel any different, so he assumes there was an issue while reconstructing his body. Except for his eye color and hair color, everything is still the same, even his mana capacity. And even more troublesome is that goblins are running around, meaning that he must be far away from the village. He then notices some skid marks of cart, and wonders if they dropped something while they were in a hurry. And so, he uses mana detection on it to find its owner. And we see a carriage running away in a hurry. The driver is scared shitless, wondering, how did he end up in this situation? He first ran into the remnants of the bandit group that was supposed to be wiped out, but it wasn't the problem. He even failed to negotiate while saying that he has connection to Baron Pyth, and all of his mercenaries running away to escape wasn't the issue either. But it was the creepy orc and its creepy smile. Luckily, that orc was busy attacking those bandits. If it weren't for that, he wouldn't be here right now. Suddenly, he hears some shouting, Realizing that the monsters are chasing him, he beats the horse to run even faster. But in a hurry, he ends up crashing the cart. He starts to get up, though feels quite the pain from his back. And looking in front, he finds tons of monsters. They are all ready to jump and attack him, and he believes that he is going to be killed by the monsters now. They all jump into attack, and he closes his in fear. But he is suddenly surrounded by a magic earth wall as Verdan arrives, saying that he forgot to leave him a hole for air. The huge orc looks up, as Verdan continues that he can just clean up all of them before the driver suffocates. And this is going to be his first battle if you don't count the goblin from earlier, and also a perfect chance to test out his abilities. We now see the whole forest is on fire, and Verdan using multi-flame arrows to cook the orcs while standing above. The larger orc simply stands by and watches and gives commands to other orcs. Seeing this, Verdan combines whirlwind and multi-flame arrows using double casting, creating heat wave arrows. And the spell, upon raining down, causes a large explosion. All the orcs are cooked, and Verdan is surprised at himself, knowing he wouldn't have been able to kill a single monster before. And now, he looks around and thinks there are none left. He then goes on to get the carriage driver out before he suffocates, and just then, the huge orc comes to attack him from behind. He suddenly looks back in shock, realizing that one more was left, and we see a splatter of blood in the next panel. A bit later, we see the carriage driver, Conrad, being really relieved, telling Verdan that he would never forget what happened today, since if it wasn't for him, he wouldn't be alive, and hopes to repay him somehow. But Verdan tells him to simply keep his eyes on the path, or he would flip the carriage again. Conrad once again asks a question, if Verdan was ever in trouble facing those monsters, and he finds him quite annoying for talking too much. But he does believe that it got a little dangerous. We go back in time and see Verdan activating a spell to cut off the huge orc's neck right in time. But he tells Conrad that there is nothing to worry about, and asks if thieves appear often in this area, since they usually avoid a rive where monsters are common, and Conrad replies, it's his first time running into them here. The forest is under control of Baron Pythe. When he was little, they used to exchange letters since he had connections with him. He was told that thieves should have been defeated, which is why he took the same route as he usually does, but perhaps he was out of luck today. Verdan also realizes that his teleportation worked if he is in Baron Pythe's territory. He knows that Magic Tower might be looking for him, even though all traces and his appearance has changed, so right now, he plans to hide and grow stronger. Conrad asks if he is even listening, and Verdan replies that he hasn't introduced himself. But this time, he drops the name Verdan for the time being and introduces himself as Asher to Conrad. Keeping his name Verdan for the time, he faces the Magic Tower Master. We now arrive at Pythe territory, Baron Estate. People there ask Conrad if he is safe, who replies that he just lose some weight from running too much. They apologize for the attacks, but Conrad tells them that it's not their fault. They look at Asher and asks if he is the mage who helped him. He cannot stay still when the savior of his friend is right in front, so he suggests to have him enter the castle. Asher greets him, thanking for providing him with clothes, food, and a place to sleep. And the Baron, Pythe Henrod, welcomes him and introduces himself to Asher. He asks if the food is to his liking, and he replies that it's quite amazing. He also informs that he has prepared 5 million elk for him this time. And there is one more thing he wanted to ask. If it's okay, he would like to hire him for a job, and will pay him handsomely for it as well. Asher knows that he needs money right in order to achieve his goal, and it would also give him time to practice his magic in combat, and asks about the job. Pythe replies that a few days ago, they found bodies hanging from their necks in the southern forest. According to their investigation, they were all residents of a nearby farm town, and the town was in complete ruin. They later found out that it was the work of bandits. But even after searching the entire territory, they came up with nothing, as if all the traces have been erased with magic. Asher replies it's possible they have a mage with them, and asks the date for the hunt. Pythe smiles and replies it's in 4 days. Fast forward to it, and the commander, Enoch, greets Asher and introduces himself. The rest of them also does so. The black-haired one is Harris, and the young one is Peric. And Asher also introduces himself to them. Asher thought it might be a good chance, but he never thought he would be hunting bandits, but he would just think of it as a payment for staying with them. Noticing a group, he asks if they are also part of the plan, and Enoch replies that they are adventurers. They have gathered up upon hearing rumors of an odd orc that appeared recently. And the payment for the kill seems pretty good, since even gold-rank adventurers are here as well. They are said to be on the same level as ordinary knights, who are skilled veterans trained in using energy to strengthen themselves and their weapons. There are even rumors that people of that rank are capable of cutting down mountains, yet they need him despite have 3 knights at their disposal. While walking, Enoch asks Asher to inform them if there is a mage with the bandits. He assures and questions, why do they even need him? And Enoch replies, usually tier 2 mages have similar strength to ordinary knights, but if they start using long-range spells, it would make it more difficult for them, though it would be best if they don't encounter one. But Asher replies that it's unfortunate then, as Enoch realizes what he means. He has found a magic circle right in front of them, and uses Dispel Magic on it, and we see a huge circle appearing. Everyone is shocked seeing it, questioning, how can there be something like this in their territory? Asher replies that the spell he took down was for camouflage, and it's a warning for the user, so he tells everyone to stand back, as he plans to take the other spell down as well. And with a single gesture of his hand, Asher is easily able to take down the spell. Enoch is shocked to see him taking down magic circles this easily, and wonders just who the hell is Asher. Explorers, they belong to a guild, taking commissions across the continent to explore unknown territories and repel monsters. Death always lurks by them, but even so, the people admire them because with skills comes wealth and fame. But with their numerous death experiences, they cannot control themselves and point their blade towards other humans, consumed by desire and abandoning their honor. They are nothing but banded in the end. The damage that Pied's party did to them hasn't even cleaned up, but now they are getting attacked by goblins and orcs, and they are even out of food. Their leader orders their men to not just stand back and go hunting. Enoch and everyone else seems to watching them and waiting for his order. And he plans to attack them right away since they have let down their guard, but Asher stops him. Since they have yet to gauge their strength yet, if the enemy has a higher circle than him, then they may lose. Enoch argues on what if they start to move again, but Asher tells him that there is a way. The bandit leader, Varja, is quite annoyed since he spent a lot of effort into expanding the operational area, and even the subordinates he recruited from the village last time got killed, but the mage tells him to calm down and think of a countermeasure. Because it was unexpected that an orc who laughs like a clown would come and kill their men, Varja never imagined something like this either. So he suggests to the mage, Vilshin, about attacking another village, who replies that the Baron is already mad at them for hanging the corpses. Even though they've been hiding their tracks using concealment magic, they have to start moving now, and he suggests a nearby city called Martes. Right as they are about to plan to plunder it, they get attacked by Asher with his spell. But Vilshin was able to deploy a barrier, and notes that it's magic. The others jump in to attack as well, and ends up breaking the barrier, which leaves Vilshin to take heavy damage. Asher explains that mana barrier is deployed quite fast, but it's not very durable, and breaking it causes heavy damage to the caster. And seeing him, Varja realizes that Asher is a mage, who tells Enoch that now that he knows their strength, he would take on the mage. Varja realizes that Baron is really trying to kill them now, but he won't let it go as planned and rushes off to attack, only to be blocked by Enoch. Varja plans to send their heads to the Baron as a response, and Enoch smirks while telling him to try. Meanwhile, we see Asher giving off a chase to Vilshin, who was planning to run away. But he notes that Asher is chasing him using Earth Wall, and only those above 3rd circle can use Flight Spell, so he assumes that Asher is a 2nd circle. He uses multi-ice arrows to attack him, planning to kill him quickly. But Asher easily counters it with his multi-flame arrows instead, and causes a slight explosion in the air. Vilshin commends him for his attack, but warns him that he picked the wrong guy to mess with, since if he had a knight with him, he would have been at a disadvantage, but he can kill him and run away. And Asher replies that he don't plan on letting him get away. Once again, Vilsh compliments his talent, the confidence and the ability to use complex attribute magic at such young is a rare talent. But he plans to stomp him here today, and uses a 3rd circle magic, Falling Ice. He drops the ice on Asher, who is looking casual, and the ice stops right above him, much to Vilshin's shock. As we see Asher using an earth spell to hold his ice in midair. He then uses Earth Spear, which completely shatters the huge ice shard. Vilshin is shocked to see him use a 3rd circle spell, and Asher creates a small icicle on his palm, telling Vilshan to take a guess. What he finds even more shocking is that not only can Asher use a third circle spell, but also has 4 attributes, leaving him to realize that he was deceiving him from the start. Asher calls it a good thing that he came, because now he learned how to fight against mages. Meanwhile, we see a giant red orc, surrounded by bodies and giving off a creepy smile. 2 days before this, Asher created an experimental medicine using ingredients he bought from Magic Tower, a magic circuit dilator. When he thought about the days he spent at the Magic Tower, he didn't want to try experimentation on himself again. But thanks to it, he was able to reach third circle. Back to the present, he thinks to leave some traces behind to prove that he accomplished the job. He also notices the wand Vilshan was using, and upon using appraise on it, he finds it to decrease the casting time of spells and increase the effectiveness of ice-attributed magic, which he believes could be a good use to him. Perik arrives, and is relieved upon seeing that Asher is fine, who apologizes for finishing up late, as he found Vilshan to be stronger than expected, and Perik replies that he can tell by the surrounding damage. Asher asks if they managed to take care of the bandits, and he replies, they did, but only the leader is left, which Enoch would finish by the time they get there. Asher then asks, what can they do with any of the possession of the bandits? And he replies that their lord told them to keep if anything catches their eye, as long as they don't need it. As such, Asher plans to make good use of it. A bit later, and he joins up with Enoch and everyone else, who commends him for good job, and he replies that it was a good experience for him as well. Vajra is surprised to know that Vilshan was killed, and if this continues, they would be executed. And so, he breaks himself free in order to escape and rushes towards Enoch to attack. He knows that he cannot break through without Vilshan's magic, so he has only one choice left, which is to kill Enoch, steal his horse, and run away. As he tries to stab him, Enoch simply grabs his arm and lets go of his sword, surprising Vajra, as he grabs him by the throat and slams him on the ground. He tries to shame Enoch for having no pride for throwing away his sword as a knight, but Enoch simply scoffs at it, saying that it's only something you can indulge in while you are alive, as he kills Varja. Enoch later apologizes to Asher for showing such an unsightly scene, stating that he usually would have done a clean cut on his neck, but Asher still commends him on good work. He then asks, why is he letting those bandits live, and Enoch replies that there were some familiar faces amongst the bandits. Some of them are actually survivors from the Farmtown attack, which is why they plan to move them to Castle and confirming their identity before deciding their fate. And so, Derek orders the soldiers to move them to the castle. One of them is too terrified and gets up to start running away. Derek goes on to take care of him, but Asher stops him, finding something to be off. Suddenly, they hear the guy's screams and cry for help. And in the next moment, they smell a heavy scent of blood. Something seems to be lurking in the bushes as it watches them from it, and throws something towards Derek, which he parries with his sword. And it turns out to be the head of the guy who was running away. A large shadow soon towers them, as everyone wonders in shock, what the hell is that? And seeing the huge orc, Asher anxious comments, can they even call that thing an orc? While realizing that the adventurers must have failed in defeating him. On top of that, he can sense more than just one here. And this thing must be the leader of those beasts. It's similar to what he saw before. Its mouth has long corners that make it look like it's smiling. And its incredible size, making it tower of its own kind, so he assumes that it must have evolved. The orc orders the monsters to attack them, and Enoch commands everyone to focus on the goblins first. Suddenly, he is attacked by that large orc, who is able to easily fling him away. And right as it's about to crush Enoch, Derek and Perik arrives and attack its soul. It throws the orc off balance, and Enoch uses this chance to stab a sword in his chest and leave him a large cut across it. The orc pants heavily for a moment and then picks up a goblin and chomps down on it. And moments after eating, he is able to regenerate itself from the injuries. They are all shocked seeing it heal like that by eating his own kind, with Enoch commenting that it looks like their return is not going to be easy. Enoch orders everyone to prepare to fight, as the orc throws his sword towards them. It comes straight to Harris, who is barely able to block it. And much to his shock, his sword ends up shattering from the impact. And the broken sword shards ends up cutting him in various places. Perik gets worried for him, and suddenly, the orc comes for him next. He quickly responds by swinging his sword down on its arm to cut it, but it gets stuck in its muscle instead. He tries to get it out to no avail, and as the orc is about to attack him, Asher saves him using Earthsharer spell. And he also guides Perik to safety. But he also cries about losing his sword, and Asher says that the orc's recovery ability and physical durability increased after eating that goblin. But Perik still found his physical to be ridiculous, since it was a strike with his full force behind, so he asks if it's a special entity from the legends. But Asher replies, it's not, and Perik is shocked to learn that, since it's so strong despite it. Regeneration and strengthening through consumption and able to command those below it and induce lunacy. It's definitely something far from a run-of-the-mill orc. But if it's all there is to it, then Asher believes it's too weak to be called an special entity. There is a limit to magic. Even if you pour in more mana, it cannot expand beyond a fixed scale, and if you go beyond, the magic itself gets extinguished. It is the rule of magic. But there is one spell which doesn't abide by those rules, geography manipulation. And we see the magic causing the whole ground to shake, leaving everyone to panic, thinking that it's an earthquake. Enoch tells everyone to remain calm and maintain their position, as it's Asher's magic. But even though he said it, he himself cannot remain calm at such sight. The large orc also falls down in the hole, leaving other monsters to be crushed beneath him. He then uses a third-tier spell, Flame Ball, and incinerates all the monsters beneath. Seeing this, Perik is really excited and Enoch asks him to maintain his dignity, to which he replies that seeing them blown away is really satisfying to him. Asher notes that geography manipulation doesn't have a limit, but no mages uses it as their main magic because it consumes extreme amount of mana. And if he only had enough, he was hoping to create a force even higher than third tier. Suddenly, they hear that orcs scream again, and looking down, we see that it's still alive. Perik panics and asks what can they do now, and Asher thinks that if it doesn't want to burn to death, then he has other ways. He begins using a water magic first, wave, to drown all of them in water, and then quickly jumps down in the pit, much to everyone's shock. He then uses multi-arrows and winter gust combination, bitter cold arrows, to freeze them to death. The other monsters are frozen, but the big orc still continues to attack Asher, who quickly hovers around him to his back to attack once again. This time, he uses the staff and uses the spell, Frozen Orb. And this finally ends up completely freezing the huge orc as well, as Asher announces, conquest complete. We now switch scenes to the magic city, Verdan. Two people are talking about the news that the magic tower is currently sealed off and its energy source exploded. They really doubts it to be the case, but they also heard most of the remaining mages disappeared and the magic tower also stopped functioning. The scale of the damage was too big to consider the energy source exploding to be the only cause. The public says that it was divine punishment or that it was a planned disaster. So perhaps someone must have plotted to seal the Bohemian magic tower. Hearing this, a passerby stops. They keep on talking about it, even rumors that it was attacked because they were running off a secret experiment. Suddenly, they are shocked when the passerby grabs his collar and asks him to say it again, leaving the old man in shock. And we see it's Rovelin, who seems quite pissed, as she asks again, what happened to the magic tower? Fast forward to a bit later, and we see all of them happily cheering their glasses for their safe return. After the subjugation ended, they returned to Pythe's domain, and he held a banquet to commemorate them. He commends everyone for doing a great job and believes it to be a miracle that there were no casualties, though he noticed that Asher isn't here yet. And just then, he arrives as well, asking if he is too late. But Pythe replies, not at all, and offers him some wine first. Asher thanks him and comments that he didn't expect Pythe to also invite the common soldiers to the banquet, and he replies that they worked hard to protect the territory, so the social status doesn't matter. Speaking of which, he asks if the bandits he subjugated were quite strong for a bandit to be, and he agrees that they were different from usual. And with their level of skill, he feels that they didn't had to rob people to make a living. And Pythe agrees with his assumption and shows him something to make him understand. After their investigation, they found out that they were wanted criminals, originally gold rank adventurers. They killed their comrades and ran away around 2 years ago. Their whereabouts were unknown after that, but they seemingly formed up a bandit gang and ended up here. Asher knows that the gold rank is the highest rank among adventurers, a status that can only be obtained after numerous achievements, which makes him understand why their bounty was 10 million elk. which he also assumes to be the reason that Pythe is really happy. If they proceeded with this subjugation without him, the damage would have been bad. But upon looking at his reaction, he is quite confused and asks Pythe as to why is he looking at him like that. And he replies that not only did he deal with the bandits, but also took care of the subspecies on behalf of the deceased adventurers. So the guild has sent their thanks as well, to which he embarrassingly replies that it was nothing special. But seeing how he got carried away, Pythe calms himself, and everyone gives him their heartful thanks because they were able to rescue the villagers from the bandits and give proper funerals to the victims. And so he raises the glass up for Asher, who saved their territory, and everyone else does the same as well. The banquet that followed was quite different from the atmosphere in the tower that Asher found. It was something that everyone enjoyed regardless of their social status. And unlike the magic tower that treated him coldly, this warm and pretentious place was quite to Asher's liking. And for the first time since escaping from the tower, he was able to smile genuinely, unaware of the upheaval that the collapse of the Bohemian magic tower would bring. Upon arriving at the tower, Rovelling seems relieved that the tower is fine and assumes the rumors to be exaggerating. Suddenly, a guy calls her out and asks if she returned from Verdan already, and she replies that she heard the tower source was destroyed, but she is glad to see the damage being minimal. And he replies that buildings can be restored quickly. Rovelling then asks Verdan's whereabout, and the guy points her to a board. It's a list of missing person, seeing which, her expression becomes grim. Seeing the list, she is unable to believe as she sees Verdan's name on the list as well. It makes her question if her meeting with Verdan at that time was the last time she would ever see him, and if she really cannot meet Verdan ever again. It causes her to go in rage to be parting with Verdan like this. She considered him to be someone like a family to her. Suddenly, someone pats her on the head, telling her that taking out her frustration on others won't do anything. And she notes him to be Valdek. She asks what exactly happened to the tower. And he replies that while the high-ranking mages were away for the festival, the power source went berserk and all the mages in the central area, including the duty manager, were annihilated. Not only that, but all the research data and records they collected so far were erased, and even the circle in the treasure vault was damaged, causing irreparable damage. The loss of Second Circuit from the vault, along with all the magic books and artifacts they gathered so far, is immeasurable. But most regrettable thing he finds is the loss of test subject 77. If he had at least brain intact, they could have recovered lost records and results. But he believes they can get revenge. They found clues about the culprit who caused the power source to go berserk, even if they escaped, surprising Rovelling. She asks, what does he mean? And he replies that there was someone who disappeared without a trace 3 hours ago before the power source went berserk, and he used the help of other magic towers to track down that suspect's whereabouts and pasts. And as a result, he found a pendant, which she recognizes is the emblem of the Black Hour, a group that not just research magic in the shadows, but also uses it as a means to rule over the world. Valdek don't know why they did it, but he is certain that they are involved in it. And so now, he is putting together an extermination unit to appease the soul of those who died in vain, and there is a place reserved for her as well. And judging by her expression, he believes that he already knows her answer. Now fast forward to a few days later, at the Adventurers Guild in Pythe's domain. The guild owner apologizes to Asher about the incident. They set the danger for that orc as high as possible, and even sent gold-rank adventurers, and he tells him that it's alright since it was only a coincidence. He thanks Asher for understanding and hands over the reward for subjugation. Seeing which, after adding all the costs and the reward for bringing back the body of the orc, out of the total 24 million elk, only 12 million is left due to taxes. The guild owner nervously explains that non-guild owners have to pay 50% tax, which they cannot remove since it was established by imperial law. But there is a way for him to avoid the tax, and Asher replies if he wants him to become an adventurer. Which is correct. The higher his rank is, the lower the tax will be, and since he is a special case, he could start at silver rank. But Asher believes becoming an adventurer would put restriction on his actions, and right now, there is something more important to him than money, as the guy pushes Asher to sign the form and become one. But Asher declines, and requests him to proceed with the payment as it is, thinking that he has to become stronger to get his revenge. Even though Asher lived as a test subject in the Bohemian Magic Tower for 7 years, his essence of mage still remains. Now at the Pyth territory, Adventurers Guild storage, a mage is always a seeker of mysteries and a researcher, which is why Asher bought the corpse of the variant he defeated to here for a full-scale research on it. Though Asher is still quite surprised that they own an artifact which preserves the state of what's covered, but since it's an adventurer guild, he don't find the capability to be anything special. But the smell is quite bad, leaving him to find the condition far from ideal. But even so, what he finds surprising in this orc is not its red pupils or reddish skin, but its torn mouth and larger physique compared to other specimens are particularly striking. But these features he finds are far from those seen in higher-level species like orc warriors or orc lord. Its intelligence is not exceptional either, so he classifies it as mutation instead of evolution. But it still feels off to him to conclude his research this way, because even if it's a mutation, it's insufficient to explain its regeneration and monstrous strength through consumption alone. Suddenly, he notices a scar on its head. Regeneration is a power that restores the body to its previous state, and this orc's regenerative power was strong enough to restore a burned body and even torn flesh, yet it couldn't heal this one small wound, leaving a scar. And if that's the case, he assumes that it must have gained the ability to regenerate after receiving the scar. And it's a mark of incision. For a demi-human to acquire power post-birth, the only way possible until now was evolution. And if so, the most likely conclusion to this is someone artificially created this variant, which would be the worst-case scenario. A bit later, and we see Asher is leaving, telling both Anak and Conrad that they didn't had to come to see him off. But Conrad replies that it's the least he can do for the savior of his life. But Asher instead feels that he has already received too much for them. As we see, he got some magical items. Anak tells him to not feel uncomfortable. It's the rightful reward that he deserves, and Asher replies that he is grateful for all this. And with that, Asher gives them his rewards as he prepares to leave. While on the way, Conrad shouts at him that if he visits a branch of the Conrad Merchant Guild in another city, he can mention his name. He won't regret it. Now at the border village between Pyth territory and the Martes barony, Asher arrives here using his flight spell and notes that it's the only village between the city and the barony. If he were to rest here tonight and head for the city tomorrow, the timing would be perfect. Suddenly, he overhears a conversation and thinks that perhaps there could be some useful information there. And so, he decides to eavesdrop a little on them and uses Whispers of the Wind spell to do so. We see them talking about the goblins being a problem. They took all of their livestock, and now they have to pay big money to hire adventurers, even though they said they could handle it themselves. But the other guy replies, it wouldn't be worth it if anyone got hurt. The village chief said the subjugation is a job for adventurers, so he suggests him to stop complaining as it's going to be all over tomorrow morning. Asher knows that goblins are pests to the commoners. They start with petty theft, but when in large numbers, they raid villages, steal goods, and eat people, which is why summoning adventurers upon discovery is a standard response. But he finds all of this nothing out of the ordinary. But as he is about to leave, he hears another thing. Someone named James apparently seeing a monster in the forest. The other guy reminds him that the village chief told him to not speak a word of it, but the other tells him to calm down since no one is listening. It was a few days ago. He went to check a trap he set in the forest as usual, but then he heard a wild boar squealing and turned around. And there it was, a goblin with a torn mouth larger than an orc, devouring a boar, leaving James terrified. The other guy is surprised to hear it, but he tells him to be quiet since they would have to pay extra if the adventurers hear it. Asher found quite the unexpected information, a large goblin with a torn mouth. He finds it quite hard to dismiss as a coincidence. We now switch scenes to a forest, where two people seems to be hunting some goblins. The girl is a silver rank adventurer, Myrna, who asks, hasn't she improved a lot? And the guy is another adventurer of the same rank, Loke, who agrees. But he starts to tease her a little, if she not feel embarrassed to brag about hitting a target that's right in front, which pisses her off. Another girl comes in and tells them both to cut it out. These two are also the adventurer of the same rank. The girl is Iris, and the guy is Mild. Iris asks Mild if he find any signs of goblins, and he points them over at a cave, which seems to him like a goblin lair. Iris notices the totem made of animals and human bones, which is a symbol of higher species, hobgoblins, but as long as they are careful with the cave's terrain, it shouldn't be too dangerous. Before entering, She orders them to destroy all the warning device and totems. She then uses the imbue sight spell on her teammates, which makes them able to see clearly in the dark. Loke praises their leader for always being so reliable to them. And with that they start to head in, only for Iris to notice something and suddenly turn to look back. Myrna asks her if something is wrong, but she replies, it's nothing, and starts to head back in. She apparently felt like she sensed some mana, and the scene pans into the bush right behind them, and it seems to be wiggling a bit. Inside the cave, we see some goblins praying to the totems. Suddenly, an arrow flies straight through one of the goblins' head, shocking the others. Iris orders her team to move ahead with the attack, and Loke and Mild takes care of the remaining two quickly. Myrna finds things going to be shockingly smooth, and assumes it's going to be over quickly, but Iris tells her to not let her guard down. Suddenly, they hear some noises from up ahead, and Myrna assumes that it's a hobgoblin and decides to go and check it out. Iris warns her to be careful and sends signal if she finds anything. There, Myrna finds loads of goblin corpses just laid half-eaten. Seeing the sight shocks her greatly. Loke comes around, asking if something is wrong, and she stutters in her words, thinking that she just heard something that sent shivers down her spine. And we see a huge goblin, eating its own kind, as Iris's team watches it from behind a rock. They all wonder in shock, just what is that? Seeing it eating its own kind, they wonder if it's a mutant, but there was nothing about him in the mission description. But right now, she plans to focus on taking that thing down. It might be huge, but if that is all, then she believes her team can manage it, so she begins explaining the plan. She orders Myrna to take out its right eye first. Mild and Loke would stall for time, and she would finish it off in the end. Myrna quickly jumps over the huge goblin and shoots it right in the eye, making it screech. Loke tells Mild to get his shield up, which he does, and Loke uses it to jump on the goblin and give it a good strike right on its shoulder. Right when he thinks that he got it, upon looking back, he finds it reaching for him instead. But Iris finishes up preparing her spell and uses mana burst to strike the goblin with, saving Loke and dealing heavy damage. The goblin screams loudly, and in anger, he picks a corpse up and throws it towards them. They are all shocked seeing it, and it seems to be heading straight towards Iris, as her teammates tells her to get down. Asher steps up, using his air rail spell and changing the trajectory of the corpse away from Iris, which then slams on the wall right beside her. Strength leaves her legs as she drops on the ground while panting heavily, having a close encounter with death itself. Myrna shoots multiple arrows right through the goblin's head, finally taking it down. They all quickly rush towards her to check up on her condition, and she assures them that she is fine, noting that if that goblin had crashed into her head-on, she would be dead, but the trajectory changed in mid-air, so she don't understand what happened. But they are still relieved that the mission was completed without anyone getting hurt, so they plan to head back to the village to get their rewards. Asher is also glad that nothing worse happened with them as he plans to leave while smiling. It was a good thing that he followed them while using the invisibility spell, thanks to which he got to see one of the lab specimens, the jester demi-human. Every test subject he has encountered since the Magic Tower escape has shared one trait, a mouth torn like a jester's smile, because of which he has started to refer them as jesters. But this one was different from them. Unlike them, it lacked enhanced physical strength, and it didn't regenerate or grow stronger upon eating its own kind. So he assumes that this one was just a failed experiment. But he also takes notice of Iris, who tells her teammates to confirm if there are other goblins left, and orders everyone to take different paths. Asher notes that she has quick judgment and is highly sensitive to mana. It wasn't a coincidence that she sensed his mana outside the cave. But in the end he leaves disappointed, unable to find anything new. Suddenly, he overhears someone new and glances back. We see another guy appearing, saying that seems like someone appeared while he was gone. They all quickly get up their guards, with Iris asking for his identity and warning to attack if he came any closer. And the guy apologizes for the late introduction and introduces himself as the caretaker of this place, which they turned into a whole mess. It was supposed to have restricted activity in this area, but while he was away, the goblin even built a totem, thanks to which its location was exposed, so even manipulating the brain wasn't enough to suppress its instincts. But he asks others if they noticed anything strange about this goblin, but they don't answer, and judging by it, the guy assumes that it was just a regular one, and if the professor finds out about it, he would go crazy. But what is done, so he can start fixing now, which means they all have to die here. Iris asks if he is going to fight all of them by himself, and he replies, of course, because of them. The specimen is dead and their ongoing experiment has been compromised, and even if they weren't, there is no guarantee that they wouldn't blab about this place. Iris replies, if they promised to do that, would he let them go without a fight? But he replies that there is no guarantee for it, and even if they did, he has no intention of letting them leave. Because honestly, he just wants to hear their scream, as he asks them to come forward whoever wants to die first. And seeing his aura, all of them starts to have sweat rolling down their face. Suddenly, Asher speaks up, saying that he is the only one who is going to die here, and as the guy is about to reply, he notices the voice came from behind him, and before he can react, he immediately gets attacked. Asher flies down, telling him that saying stuff like, I want to hear you scream and who wants to die first. It's all just him trying to act tough here. Shouldn't he agree, as we see Asher is all ready to blow the guy apart. Asher didn't plan to interfere in this fight here, but if he didn't step in here, the party behind him would have been completely destroyed by the person in front of him. And just now, he heard the man referring to that goblin as a test subject as well. And the fact that he also mentioned someone behind the scenes called the professor, which makes him sure that there is no doubt it is all related to the jester demi-humans. The guy asks Asher for his identity with a grim expression. But Asher simply prepares his spell, telling him that he don't believe he has any obligation to answer that question. But the guy doesn't care about it either now, because even if Asher doesn't reveal his identity to him, it doesn't change the fact that he would kill him right here, after which, he rushes in towards Asher at high speeds. Asher responds with multi-flame arrows, but the guy dodges all of them with his incredible speed. He ends up closing the distance and strikes Asher with his sword, only for it to be blocked by his barrier. But his barrier starts to break, causing him to use mana pulse attack to push the guy away from himself and create some distance. He notes that the speed he has is quite good, and if he is perhaps using energy to reinforce his legs, the weight behind his sword strike is lighter than a knight from Pyth. But his speed is still vastly superior to theirs in all regards, so he plans to change his strategy from this point on. The guy compliments Asher for being quite fast at deploying magic, and while he don't know what rank he is going to increase his speed in response to that as well. He once again rushes at Asher, telling him to try handling this. And Asher responds with a double casting magic, Winter Gale and Icicle. Seeing his simultaneous use of ice and wind element, the guy is left anxious and quite surprised. Asher then uses Icicle Blast on him, and he gets surrounded by fast-moving ice shards quickly. Seeing him use double casting with dual elements, the guy calls it quite impressive. But it would be meaningless if it doesn't hit him, as he is once again able to close the distance and get behind Asher. He tries to strike him at his back, but Asher easily dodges, much to his shock. Both him and Iris are shocked that a mage dodged that attack. They don't know how he can react to that speed. And while the guy is still in midair, Asher uses ignition and creates large explosions all around. It creates rain due to the combination of his previous ice magic and now fire magic. The guy notes that Asher deliberately drew him in close for a counterattack, which is not how a typical mage fight, but it's all that is, a trick that he believes won't work on him again. Asher replies that he would fight him like a proper mage then, as we see him using magic on Iris's team and raising them up. They are all quite shocked, wondering why the whole ground is shifting like this and how high is it going to go. It finally stops, and Iris notes that it's terrain manipulation, but she is surprised that he is using such notoriously inefficient magic in an actual combat. On top, he is also using double casting and rapid fire of large-scale spells, so she assumes that he must have massive mana reserves. And his style of combat is something that she has never heard of before. The guy starts to mock Asher for running away despite saying that he would fight like a mage, and if he really thinks that he won't be able to do anything if he is up there. But he also don't understand why did he move all the others up there despite the spell using extreme amount of mana. And just then, he looks down at his feet and sees water, realizing that the flame earlier caused the ice shards to melt. We now see lightning crackling in Asher's hand, seeing which the guy starts to realize what is going on and gets nervous. The lightning starts crackling through the water, and Iris notes that it's lightning magic, as we see Asher is completely surrounded by it. Noting that even among the Academy professors, only a few of them can use this element, as Asher uses a rank 3rd magic, Thunderstrike. The guy starts to get completely electrocuted, and wonders just who the hell is Asher, using 4 elements like that, and even an advanced one. But his surprise doesn't end there, as we see Asher using triple casting now, an attack which causes a huge explosion. The smoke starts to clear, and Asher finally comes down, asking the guy one thing, the orc that was in Pyth, which was similar to that goblin earlier. Are they also somehow related to this professor? The guy seems heavily damaged and replies, so he was behind that too, and asks if he came from Ark? But seeing Asher's reaction, the guy realizes that it's not the case, so he simply tells Asher to kill him. But he tells him to answer before he does. Whereas the professor, and the guy asks, why does he wants to know that, and Asher replies that he is interested in the experiments they are doing. He realizes that Asher is quite dangerous, so he cannot let him meet the professor, and instead plans to die together with him here, and shoots a needle with his mouth. But the attack is once again blocked by Asher, who says that he had his answer loud and clear with this, and uses the Earth Shatter spell to kill him. He finally thought that he got a clue about those jesters, but in the end, his efforts were in vain. He moves to their party, thinking that he needs to finish what needs to be done now first, and tells Iris's party that from now on, they would have to follow his orders. Fast forward, and they have gotten the additional compensation from the village chief. When she threatened to report about the omitted goblin, he paid an additional 1.2 million to keep her mouth shut. And with that, they start to leave, but Asher stops them and forwards some of the amount. She is a bit surprised by this, and he replies it's her commission fee, and he asks them to guide him to Martes City. After the incident, he started to travel with Iris's party. On the way, she asked him many questions about magic relentlessly. He didn't dislike the talk, so he engaged with her, and like that, they arrived in Martes. Seeing how big the city is, he assumes they must have a bank. The rest of the part starts to leave since they got paperwork to do with the Adventurers Guild, and offers their leader to be Asher's guide, which she accepts and asks Asher, where would he like to visit first, and he replies that he would like to settle the bounty and open a bank account. So they head to the city hall first. She excitedly starts to guide him, seeing which, her party is quite shocked, since Asher is someone who just killed someone without hesitation moments ago. First they went for the bounty rewards through the city hall. He nearly ran into trouble, since he didn't had time to create an ID after changing his body, so his entry was forbidden. But through Baron Pide's guarantee, he was allowed to enter. Not only that, after hearing that he brought a letter of endorsement from him, the elder of the city happily invited him. His family lives in the same territory, so he was grateful to Asher for defeating the bandits. He even gifted him an ID as well, thanks to which, he was able to open a bank account. He does have the account he used back in Verdan as well. But the Tower Master might catch up to him if he uses it, so he plans to be careful. He then heads towards a blacksmith and gives up his wand to be created into a staff, and he tells him to come back in 3 days to pick it up. And he also gives him a temporary one to use. Iris asks if he prefers staves over wands, and he replies he just got used to them from sweeping with brooms a lot, confusing Iris. They now arrive at the Martes Public Library. He asks if they would have enchantment books, and she replies they should, but not at the level of him. But he replies that he is fine with the basic ones, so Iris asks how many does he want? And he replies all of them, surprising her. At the reception, we see him getting loads of book. Even the receptionist is surprised. He asks him to charge the rental to this card and deliver all of them to Lorik's hotel, top floor. He asks how many would he like? And he once again says all of them, surprising them both. Asher recalls that he was able to settle the bounty, opened an bank account, commissioned a staff, and borrowed every book on enchantment. Meanwhile, Iris is quite tired, wondering just who is he, and asks if she took him everywhere he wanted to go today. And he replies that it was plenty for today, once again making her nervous that it was for today only. She remembers that she never asked for his name and asks for it, and he replies, Asher, but she can call him whatever she likes. She quickly starts begin informal with him, which he notes as well, and she tells him to speak casually with her as well. Iris finds it the perfect time to ask about something she is dying to know and asks, why was he in that cave? He is stumped on that question, since he cannot just say that he saved them by coincidence, and it would be weird to say that he just happened to be there. So he tells her that he was chasing that man. And now that she thinks about it, she remembers Asher asking about some professor to the guy, and she assumes that perhaps he is some secret agent chasing a shadow organization. Asher continues that he didn't got much from him in the end, and tells her that it's enough for today, she can head back now. But she still offers to accompany him to the hotel, since he is new here. Fast forward to night, and she finally says good night. See you tomorrow to Asher. Finally, after being done, she sits down on the bench, thinking of Asher as a strange man. Noting that he has such high level of magic that he can wield all the elemental attributes, and with an amount of mana depths that she cannot even measure. He is such young as well, and has better grasp on theoretical magic than most academy professors, and he even teaches well. To top it all off, she finds him to be really handsome, and assumes he must be popular. But when she talks to him, she found him to be quite stiff, almost as if talking to a scarecrow. But she is quite flustered thinking all of it and wonders, why does his face keeps popping in her head? Regardless, amongst all the mages she met since graduating from the academy and becoming an adventurer, he is the most skilled. And tomorrow, she plans to learn even more about elemental magic from him. And just then, a huge explosion occurs, leaving her shocked as she looks back, and notices that it's the same hotel which Asher was staying in. She then notices a human-like silhouette floating in the air, and upon looking closely, she finds out that it's actually Asher. We go back to some time ago where the professor learned that Sergen is dead, but when he questions who killed him, the guy simply replies that they found traces of magic in the cave, which angers the professor. And he once again asks, who killed Sergen in anger? And the guy replies, they haven't found the culprit yet, which is unfortunate since the professor found him quite useful. He then asks about the test subjects, and he replies that they are dead as well. They erased all the traces and bodies of Sergen and the test subjects. But the professor is still annoyed at him for not dealing with the culprit as of yet. He remembers that his subjects from the Pythe Barony also went quiet, and now the goblin and Sergen is dead as well, which makes him a bit worried if the Arc bastards have already caught on, though his experiment is almost finished. And so, he orders the guy to not come back till he kills the culprit. So he gets determined as well to bring back Asher's head anyhow. Fast forward a bit, and he has found Asher, who was reading enchantment books. He quickly hides under the bed using his stealth magic, planning to kill Asher in his sleep. But he suddenly notes that it's all gone quiet, and the next moment, Asher uses the spell, Earthborn, much to the assassin's shock. And it destroys the building as the assassin jumps up to dodge, noting that his stealth has been seen through. We now see Asher in midair, looking at the assassin, who is skimming through the crowd to escape, finding Asher crazy for using explosion magic in such tight space. Noting that he is at least a tier 3 magic, so he needs to retreat. He shouts in the public that a mage is doing a terror attack, causing panic among the crowd as they all starts to run away. Asher notes that he is undetectable even by mana sensing, but he believes that he made a mistake with this, because he erased his presence completely. He is standing out even more, like a spot on a blank sheet of paper, a pitch black hole. And so, Asher quickly spots and attacks him, much to the guy's shock, as he wonders, just what kind of monster did Ark send out? He is even using magic with civilians around. Asher doesn't let the guy to breathe and again attacks him with multiple mana arrows. But he dodges by breaking into the warehouse to his side. And upon going inside, he finds the place to be filled with vagrants. One of them tells Asher to not just barge in and create a mess like this, and he apologizes and asks about the assassin. But the vagrant calls Asher impatient and asks for money for the information. But as Asher is glancing to the side, noting that there is no exit, so he must be inside, we see blood gushing out. And it's the assassin who tries to kill Asher through the vagrant. Such cowardly move pisses him off even more, and he uses mana shockwave to push the assassin back. But the assassin barely withstands it by digging up his sword in the ground. He thinks that normally a mage cannot attack and defend at the same time, so he plans to bait him into using mana barrier and pop a smoke bomb on him and escape. And with that in mind, he rushes off to attack Asher, calling him out to cast the mana barrier. But instead, Asher uses mana focus and dodges his attack, much to his shock, and charges up his staff. The assassin finds his fighting style, which doesn't even lose in close combat, and wonders if he is a war mage as he gets hit right on his chest. The guy coughs up blood, and Asher quickly uses Earth Sphere spell to trap him. But he pulls his smoke bomb somehow and throws it at Asher, who then uses Wind Blast spell to quickly clear up the smoke. But much to his annoyance, the assassin has already ran away. And just then, guards arrive and orders Asher to not move. arresting him for arson and urban terrorism. Mayor Henry is informed about the incident, the fact that Asher was the victim as someone attempted an assassination on him, which led to a confrontation. And the Martess Adventurers Guild Master, Oscar, wants to be entrusted with this investigation of the culprit since it seems connected with a murder of an adventurer affiliated with their guild. Mayor Henry calls it frustrating experience for Asher, who just landed in this city, and asks about the damages. He is informed that the top floor of the hotel he was staying in has been destroyed, and one criminal from the slums has died, and the assassin is still being tracked. And on another separate incident, an adventurer defended Asher. He claimed to have encountered a mutated goblin and an armed attacker in a cave during honey collecting quest. But when they visited the scene, they didn't find anything. There were no bodies, no monsters or anything. Henry deducts that there might be an organized group targeting adventurers, and there might be more incidents like this. Due to which, Oscar tried assigning a bodyguard to Asher, and Henry asks if there is a problem hearing his tone. Oscar informs that the rumor of Asher being a terrorist is already spread, so no mercenary or solitaire is taking up to be his guard. And so, Henry plans to speak to his own knights about this. Now fast forward to the next day, at the Martess City Hall, Asher got his wand transformation done quickly. And right as he is planning to pursue the attacker again, someone comes in. It's Jason, the vice captain of the Martess Knight, and until his safety is secured, he would be acting as his bodyguard. Seeing Asher, Jason thinks of him as the infamous Crazy Mage. And since he was assigned a guard, he assumes that he was cleared of suspicion, but Jason looks young, so Asher is surprised that he is already third tier. He asks Jason if he can leave the place, which he replies, only if Asher agrees to stick with him. He agrees, but calls it a shame knowing Jason is just a vice captain, which annoys him, as he tries asking, where are they going? Half a day later, Jason is still asking, where are they going? But Asher argues that Jason told him he could move freely if he was with him, but Jason is annoyed since they've been walking for hours now already. They finally arrive at some building, which Asher claims was the place he intended to visit. Jason questions the reason for coming here, but Asher blows the building up, much to his shock, while saying that he came here to find someone. And it's the assassin who tried to kill him. Jason asks if he is meaning to say that the assassin is here, and Asher agrees. While he was fighting him last night, he was able to briefly touch his body and cast a spell. It's a spell which links the target's mana flow with his own, tracking magic, trace. And since the magic has not been dispelled yet, meaning the assassin hasn't took notice of it. And much to his surprise, Jason notes an underground passage beneath the building. Asher's trace magic is leading down there. He asks Jason if he was aware of such tunnel, and he replies, not at all. He was trained to know all the passageways in Martess, but the entrance to this zone isn't here. And this leads Jason to realize something, an unrecognized tunnel which leads outside the city. Meaning, there is a huge breach of security in Martess. And so, he draws his sword, planning to seal this place immediately. But Asher tells him to wait, since the priority right now is tracking down the assassin. Jason suggests to call for backup, but Asher argues they would lose the target that way. So, chasing them now is the right call, as he jumps down. Jason wonders if Asher is ignoring him just because he is a vice captain, but he regardless jumps in, calling all the mages annoying. In there, we see the assassin, thinking that he wasted too much time here. After escaping, he had to heal his wounds and cover his tracks, so he has been hiding out here for too long. And at this rate, the professor would try to kill him, which makes him think to escape. But he quickly discards the thought, thinking that he cannot escape the clutches of gluttony. And all he can hope now is that Professor shows him some mercy. As he arrives, the professor comments, it's the famous face of Martess himself. He is quite pissed at him for making such spectacle that both the mayor and the Adventurer Guild are aware of them now, being a stupid assassin broadcasting his target to the whole neighborhood. And so, he asks him to explain what happened, clearly and concisely. After getting the order, he quickly went to the Department of Transit and found out where Asher was living, and set up an ambush, but he somehow sensed him and used a large-scale spell that escalated everything. He hid among the crowd and escaped, but he chased him the whole way, and he barely shook him off using a smoke bomb. But the professor doesn't believe that he escaped just using a smoke bomb. And the assassin continues that it was because the timing of the guards overlapped with his escape that he was able to get off. But the professor doubts that there can be an insane mage who would blow up buildings and unleash spells in the city. Suddenly, he comes to a realization and orders the assassin to take of his armor and burn it. He doesn't understand, but the professor tells him to do it angrily. And upon doing so, we see a mark of magic. And the assassin is quite shocked to see it. The professor gets nervous that they've been found and orders him to destroy the traces here and seal the entrance, while he would take the specimen. But suddenly, a huge explosion occurs, with Asher coming in and saying that they finally noticed. But it's too bad for them, since it's already too late. Asher remembers the person in front being the assassin, and realizes who is the one behind him then. He is the so-called professor, who also recognizes Asher as the crazy mage, commenting that Ark sent a crazy one this time. Hearing which, Asher remembers it popping up again and again, so this time he plans to subdue and investigate them. He uses Earth's sphere to attack, but it's blocked by the assassin. The professor is quite pissed at the assassin, who simply apologizes for his mistakes. But since there is no choice left, he orders him to stall for time while he moves the plan forward. But Asher doesn't plan to let him go and uses magic arrow. But once again the assassin stops it, apologizing since he has received an order to stall for time. Asher wonders what he can do, since if he uses too much power it would kill them, then there would be no chance to get the information. Just then Jason jumps in, blocking the assassin, telling Asher to go on ahead while he holds him off. Which Asher does without a second thought, much to his annoyance that he didn't even thank him once. Asher tries to find the professor, thinking that he couldn't have gone too far. Suddenly, he finds himself at the start of a bridge and smells rotten corpses. The professor didn't expect the assassin to stop him, but he also didn't expect it for Asher to catch up to him. But now, he plans to show him his work. And behind him, we can see tons of monsters, as he asks Asher if he likes his creations, who replies that these must be the jesters that he keeps seeing, and the professor finds the name jester an insult to his creations, and instead calls them new possibilities of evolution, though they don't live up to his hope. But they would still more than enough to deal with a single intruder as he sets them free onto Asher, who notes that it would take him a lot of time if he were to deal with one at a single time. So, he uses a double casting spell, Thunder Wave, to deal with all of them at once. The professor is shocked by it, and is also thrown back by the attack. He realizes that his intel was wrong. At first he thought Asher was just a third-tier mage. But to control such magic, he has to be at least a fourth tier, near the upper limit. But he cannot let go of his years of research like this, so he crawls to another room. And there we can see a creature, hovering in a test tube, as Professor plans to awaken his masterpiece. Asher quickly catches up, much to the professor's shock, as he comments that there should still be his failed creations outside. But Asher simply replies that he burned everything, making the professor nervous, and confirming that Asher is really a fourth-tier mage. Asher questions, what is that thing next to him, and he replies that it's his magnum opus, his child. He calls it gluttony, the embodiment of their research, consuming biological activity itself to evolve through synthesis, calling him the future of humanity. But Asher quickly responds by attacking the professor and cutting of his arm. But he was a second too late. The professor was able to press the button before he could sever his wrist. The creature comes out, and Asher realizes what the professor was trying to do. And the professor tells Asher that he would now become the nourishment for his child. The monster speaks, much to Asher's surprise. It shouts that it's hungry, releasing a massive amount of energy. It calls Asher delicious and plans to eat him, who notes that it's using energy to enhance its body, something that would require a human years of training technique. Yet an artificial creature can use it. And it's not just that, it also possesses enough skills to launch endless attacks only at his blind spots. With this level of skills, it's worth being called a magnum opus. And as a researcher, Asher finds it interesting as well. And as the creature gets close, he smacks him with his staff right on the face, which sends it flying and slamming into the wall behind. As Asher claims that it's still no match for him. Asher has one particular habit. To survive 7 years as a test subject in the tower, he had to constantly suppress his explosive rage. When he returned to his room after the experiments, he used those condensed emotions as driving force and completed the theory of defying heaven. Which is perhaps why, the more his emotions were stirred, the more his anger rose. The clearer his head became, and his icy rationality took over. And now for simplicity, He names the creature immortal. His physical ability is on par with the jester orcs of Pyth, and its regeneration was also comparable to them. But its elasticity, flexibility, and speed are incomparable to them, but it's all there is to it. Once again, when the mortal comes close, Asher tries to hit him with the staff, but it dodges, only to get skewered by Earth's spear, and get called an idiot for falling for a fake attack like that. Asher quickly follows up with Magic Arrow, but it uses its scream to block the attacks. Asher notes that it lacks technique compared to a knight, and is unable to distinguish even basic tricks. It simply swings punches with brute force. So it's simply a beast in human form, as Asher easily blows through its chest using Earth Spear, and he finds it too weak to be called a magnum opus. Seeing this, the professor gets nervous, questioning, how can his magnum opus fail? It's something that absorbs the traits of its prey through consumption, a being that continuously gets stronger. A true neo-human, it is supposed to be. And yet, it was beaten such one-sidedly. But he believes it only happened since it's still hungry and plans to feed him its own severed arm to restore its strength, and then kill Asher and escape this place. But he comes around and asks about the experiment logs which he must be keeping since it's a facility. When the professor hesitates to answer, Asher threatens to kill his child if he don't hand over the experiment logs. So he reluctantly agrees, finding it an opportunity. Since Asher is a mage, he might let him live once he sees his logs. And so, he hands it over, planning to show his value of cruel research. Asher takes a look and throws it away, citing that he don't need it. Much to the professor's confusion, Asher continues that his biological research has top-tier value. Except for ethical violations, it rivals even the Bohemian Magic Tower. Which leads the professor to ask, why did he throw it away, and Asher replies, it's because it doesn't align with him. But the terrorist plan at the end of this logs is something still worth lots of money, Asher comments. The professor freaks out, asking if he is going to kill him and the neo-human just like that. And Asher offers to let him live at first in exchange for the information about gluttony and arc, but quickly retracts it, as he sees Jason coming this way, not wanting to complicate this matter further. He starts charging up his spell, as the professor begs him to not do it, but he still kills both of them by burning them alive. Jason arrives and asks Asher if he is alright, which he replies he is, and asks Jason if he is done with the assassin. And Jason replies that he landed a solid blow, and he should be in a worse condition unlike him. Seeing him ramble like that, Asher realizes that the assassin must have ran away, as he notices something in the paper. It turns out to be a map, and looking at it, he judges that it should be around Martess, and wonders about the red mark on it. Suddenly, he gets a sharp headache, and recognizes it as the symptom of mana exhaustion from overusing his mana, and so for now, he decides to head back. Few days later after the subjugation, Mayor Henry was quite pissed, as he ordered his knights to be on high alert, and they strengthened their anti-terrorism effort and search and seal the underground passageways. While Asher was in his room and injecting himself with mana circuit expansion simulants. Thanks to injecting to his body limits, he was able to shorten years of typical mage growth into just few weeks. And now, it's time for him to move on to the next stage. He was able to move to rank 3 in Verdan's elemental magic system. We now switch scenes to a guy sitting on a throne and learning about the professor's death. He was wondering when he was going to deal with him, but with this, he has one annoying thing less to deal with. And he also learns that Asher was the one who killed the professor, so he now plans to meet him in person. We now switch scenes to Martess Knight's training grounds. We see Asher training with his staff. He also went to the location marked on that map. It was an old, defunct facility. It was located within the forest at the border of Martess, hidden beneath a massive tree. There was an entrance, which could only be accessed after unlocking a mechanical device. There was nothing significant there, but he did found a fong-shaped emblem mentioned in Professor's journal and the hide of Mabat, known for its high physical resistance. But he still didn't got any information about a group called Arc or Gluttony. But he was still able to get a valuable hide and also prevented a catastrophe in Martess, so he should be satisfied. And just then, Jason arrives informing Asher that Mayor is calling for him. Switching scenes to the Mayor, he thanks Asher for saving the city. Thanks to the plan he foiled, they were able to catch the remnants of them, but they didn't got any information since they were just manipulated by the professor. And he is also grateful for Asher for understanding his reason for keeping his contribution to his a secret, and Asher replies that it's fine, since citizens would panic if word got out for it. He knows that reputation is important, not as adventurer or mercenary, but he needs to build one of his own if he wants to earn money or experience. And once he is recognized, he would probably get more opportunities like that in Pyth territory. Yet despite all of this, he still agreed to keep his contribution a secret for a reason. They both arrive at the vault for storing rare items, which are either purchased directly by the city or confiscated from criminals. And this magic vault was the reason Asher kept it all confidential. Mayor Henry offers him to take any one item he likes from the vault. He can pick up a mithril sword which is easy to imbue with mana or high-grade weapons and magic, so he can take time to find what he wants here. Asher thinks that he would get plenty of time to build fame, but opportunities to take rare magic artifacts are rare. He asks if he can appraise them, and Mayor Henry is surprised that he can appraise item without even being an appraiser, and gives him permission to do so. He finds many items there, but still finds what he has currently better and nothing he can swap to at this point. And so, he plans to simply take the sword and leave, only for a ring to catch his eye. He wonders, what is this ring? And it doesn't react to his appraise skill, so he assumes it's not a magic item. But Mayor Henry tells him to not rush. He can take time to find what he needs. And like that, it gets from morning to evening, leaving in the mayor tired at this point, who thought that Asher would pick something quickly. And so, he ends up going with the necklace of protection, which casts an automatic barrier. Mayor questions if it wouldn't consume more mana than a normal barrier, and Asher replies that it's no problem for him at all. But Henry still doesn't feel right letting him off with just a necklace. So, he gives him the ring that he was eyeing earlier as well. Asher asks if it's really okay for him to have two items, and Mayor Henry calls it fine, since he is the savior of their city. And when asked if he is going to leave the city now, Asher replies that he would stay for a while, having something important to do here. Now at Verdan territory mine, we see a miner finding something upon his axe hitting something hard. And much to his fear, it turns out to be a skull. Someone else arrives and mocks him for freaking out over it, since it's common occurrence. But the guy argues that it's something weird, since a normal pickaxe swing would have shattered that skull. But the guy kicks it away and tells him to now pick up and finish up his work, only for him to tell him to look behind him, as we see the skull starts to float in midair, and it soon completely transforms into an undead. And as he tries to shout at everyone to get out of the mine, they all get slaughtered before getting the chance to do so. A rumor began spreading that undead had appeared in the Verdan territory mine, and with the emergence of beings that couldn't be killed, a state of emergency was declared in Verdan. The testimonies of survivors from the mining tunnels spread, and the entire territory began to fall into fear. Meanwhile, the tragic tale of Verdan began circulating by word of mouth, and a messenger from Verdan also arrived in Martes. So, the news also reached here, as we see Iris's party staring at Iris and Asher, wondering, when did they get so close? Who seems to be learning enchanting magic from her. And it took him a full month to learn it. Now fast forward a month later since the subjugation of the professor. During this time, Asher learned enhancement magic from Iris, as we see him rushing towards an orc while applying strength, reaction speed, and sensory enhancement on himself. And lastly, he uses barrier enhancement and mana focus to defeat the orc. He reached the level where he can perfectly apply them to real combat. Iris is quite shocked upon seeing this, the fact that he took down an orc with mere staff in just a few seconds, which makes her wonder, just what is there that Asher cannot do? He walks back and thanks Iris for the lessons, who argues that he is the one who is amazing. He could have even learned all of it on his own. But he makes her blush by saying that he wouldn't have been able to learn without her help, since all the books were burned, making Iris think that normally people would think they are pretty good if they could do all that. Despite having that kind of skills and being good-looking, she finds him really perfect and wonders, how is he not interested in romance at all after all that? Suddenly, she accidentally speaks one of her thoughts out loud. What if he has that kind of problem? And Asher replies that he don't, much to her surprise as she argues that it's not what she meant. While walking back, he tells to try and keep her thoughts like that to herself, and she tries to explain herself. Back in the city, someone greets Asher as soon as he arrives. And it's the guild master, who is here with a request for him. Asher remembers that he was the one who was in charge of the investigation where he was falsely accused, and realizes the reason that he rushed here to find him. It would be because of hordes of undead that have appeared near the mines in Verdan. Their numbers are so overwhelming that they need outside help. Because the rumors that contact with the undead causes curses and disease, no adventurers were volunteering. Then, he heard that Asher has foiled a terrorist attack, so he came looking for him. Normally, he would have turned him down, but he recently spent a fair bit of his money and he wanted to use this opportunity to gain some fame, so he accepted his request. Looking at him, everyone recognizes him as the unusual mage who was practicing close combat with a staff. Hearing which, he asks Iris about these rumors surrounding him, and she replies that it's the first time she is hearing them, but she knew about it already in reality. Asher is a bit surprised to see Iris's party here. He asks if they aren't afraid of undead, and she replies that such silly rumors have no effect on academy graduates like her. And they won't be fighting on the front lines anyways, so it's fine. A comment which embarrasses her team since it's not something to be proud of. Regardless, Asher hopes that this is a good opportunity for him. Now fast forward to a day after the start of subjugation. People in the carriage starts to worry for Asher, wondering if his mana is okay since he has been using flight non-stop since yesterday. One of the girl asks Iris about her relationship with him, since they two seemed pretty close to her. She blushes and replies that they can be called senior and junior, explaining how they got close after he saved them during a subjugation. Meanwhile, we see Asher noticing something from up in the air. Back in the carriage, the girl continues to question Iris about their relationship, and she keeps on getting flustered with each answer. Suddenly, Asher arrives, informing that there is a horde of undead ahead, and they are chasing residents of Viren territory. And he rushes off first to support them. Arriving there, he notes that there are quite few of them despite it being far from the origin zone, but he calls it a perfect chance. He poured his entire month into enhancement magic and this, so it's time for him to see the result. Amongst the things that he stole from the tower, Grimoire, it can only be used by mages of mid-3rd tier or higher, but just opening it enhances the magic power of the caster. It's one of the rare items desired by every mage. Only the artisan tower can create it, and due to it requiring really expensive materials, only few of them were made, and most of them were registered to someone's name, so they cannot be used by others. But what he got was an unregistered one with himself, and this one has elemental magic in it, and he engraved a difficult, constantly connected magic circle called Connection in it. And now it's going to be his first real test, as he starts using geography manipulation. And we see the whole ground starting to shake, leaving everyone to wonder on what is happening. He does a gesture with his hand, and we see a huge hand made of rock comes out of the ground and grabs all the undead. He then uses a double casting magic to blast all of them while they are trapped inside that hand. And we see all the undead burning into crisp. Everyone is shocked to see that Asher has still this much mana left despite using flight spell all day since yesterday. The spell that Asher registered in the grimoire was an earth elemental spell, and the result was combination of the enormous mana of his body using defying heavens and the grimoire's power boosted geography manipulation. Seeing this, Iris is shocked as well, finding him to be beyond even 3rd tier mage at this point. Suddenly, one of the surviving undead tries to attack Iris from behind, and she screams in fear. But suddenly, a huge guy arrives and one-shots the undead. Questioning where did all of his prey went in an annoyed tone, and seeing his huge axe and his badge, they start to recognize him. He questions everyone, why are they all so quiet, and again asks, where did all of his prey went? His name is the Butcher, Galliarch. Iris wonders, what is he doing here, and replies while stuttering that all the undeads are already dead. Galliarch is quite surprised hearing that, since there were supposed to be dozens of them. Even though they are far from the source, he was informed about the horde of undead, and yet they were all wiped out with 0 injuries. He stares at Asher, wondering if he was the one who did it. He walks up to him and questions if it was his work. And he replies, so what if it was? Prompting Galliarch to say that it's the wrong answer, since he came here because he was hired to hunt those undead, and yet he snatched away his prey. And now that he has messed with his job, he better pay up. Asher steps back, saying that he is curious of what the price of taking his prey would be. Galliarch notes that he created distance between them, and must have chosen position for combat as a mage. And he is seriously thinking of going up against him, causing him to give off a big smirk. One of the party members tells Asher to not be reckless. He cannot fight the Butcher. Iris asks if he is that dangerous. And he explains that dangerous cannot even cover it. Not only he is immensely powerful, but he is also notorious for his violent temper. He once went on a drunk rampage and crippled a knight who tried to stop him. Iris questions, how is he not punished for such crime? A Four Eyes steps up, saying that the guild needs Galliarch's strength. So it's not reasonable to expect the same rules to apply to someone like him, who has reached platinum rank, and we see he is Galliarch's party's mage, Gode. Their party's ranger, Nerian, tells Gode to stop them, since it could become a real problem later, which he agrees. He tells Galliarch to please calm down, as the people in front must also be on a request from Viren. And if he fights now, it could cause problems later. Meanwhile, he plans to finish it by showing off the difference in skill himself, leaving Galliarch annoyed. He calls Asher, the one who looks confident in his abilities. He would show him his place and starts using his magic on him. But Asher seems completely casual, noting that it's pressure magic and seems mid-third tier at best. And even though the name sounds grand, it's a technique of releasing raw mana, and notes how it's used in actual combat. And just like that, he instantly copies it and is able to pin down Gode specifically. It surprises Galliarch a bit, since Gode is not a bad mage by any means. He realizes that Ash is stronger than they thought and asks for his name. And Asher introduces himself, leaving Galliarch to grin, who tells Asher that he would see him in Viren. Fast forward to evening. The clash with Galliarch's party ended quicker than expected. The Martes dispatch team, tasked with both guarding the king's survivor and delivering aid, was delayed in arriving at the Viren territory. And having come into conflict with the platinum-ranked Galliarch, he got on the party's bad side. And the next day, Viren's lord, Farnad, thanked everyone for answering to the summons. We see Viren's troops and Lua's order, as Farnad begins explaining their objective, which is to exterminate the undead, without as much casualties as possible. Asher and Galliarch's eyes meet, who smirks and asks Asher if he is nervous or something. One of Asher's mate tells him to not fight him, and Asher replies that he won't, unless he picks the fight first. And we see tons of undead. The battle has already begun. The soldiers begin moving, with instructions to strike their head to kill them. Suddenly, a large undead appears, a blood golem, causing everyone to run away in panic. But Galliarch jumps in and gets right in front of it, finding it the perfect thing for his warm-up. And with a punch right to its head, he deals quite a bit of damage, and later plucks its head off, leaving everyone to be surprised that he took down a blood golem in a single blow. And much to everyone's shock, he throws the golem's head towards the cliff, which is right in front of Asher, who blocks the dirty blood with his barrier and calls it rude. Galliarch mocks Asher for not displaying his full power, and if what he showed yesterday was just for show. Asher takes up the challenge and uses terrain manipulation with Galliarch still on the field, and then uses Fireball to destroy the undead, taking out many of them at once. Iris questions, what is he even doing, and rest of them are surprised seeing him use large-scale spells back-to-back like this. Galliarch starts laughing seeing this, calling him quite fiery-tempered despite being soft-looking. Though, it's exactly what he likes. Meanwhile, Asher is up there and quite disappointed that Galliarch didn't got caught up in his attack. But they both begin taking down hordes of undead, with Galliarch making it a competition, stating that whoever takes down the most undead will win.